Hey everybody, Sean Ellich here at Sales Profit. There's been a lot of talk about the new changes that are going into effect in 2024 regarding Google or Gmail and Yahoo email boxes. And basically, in a sense, they're going to start to enforce DMARC policies, meaning you have to have your SPF record connected or added to your DNS records. You have to have a DKIM and you have to have a DMARC record. And so I thought in this video, I would show you exactly how to do that. So if you're using like a Google domain, which is now Squarespace, it'll look a little bit different, and I'll cover that as well. You're automatically assigned a DKIM. It'll say Google underscore domain key. And that basically just gives you a public key that verifies that you are who you are. Now, Google will also give you what they call an SPF record. And they're one of the few companies that will actually give you both an SPF and a DKIM or a TXT record. But you don't really need both. Most providers like Squarespace, if you look at their domains, I'll show you quickly. You'll see that now you are buying your domain at Squarespace, but you're buying Google Workspace through Google. So it's kind of convoluted, to be honest with you. But Google decided to sell off all their domains, which is about 10 million domains, for $180 million to Squarespace to focus on their core business, which is to sell you ads. But you'll notice that when you get a Workspace account, that it'll automatically add a DMARC or TXT record. This TXT record in this case looks like this. V equals SPF1 include :_ SPF.google.com space tilde all. And that basically says that Google can mail email on your behalf. They're the mail servers. And these MX records are basically saying, hey, this is coming from Google. In most cases, though, you'll have to add your own DMARC record as a custom record. So you just put underscore DMARC, and then you put in your value for your DMARC system, and I'll show you how to get that done. Now, if you're having troubles configuring your DMARC, which most platforms don't give you a DMARC setting, okay? So you might use a solution like Easy DMARC, and you can enter a domain, and there you go. You can verify whether you have a DMARC setting or not. So let's take a look at corporatemobilitytoday.com, which is one of our domains. Check the DNS record, and it says it's active. So it's a valid value here. Now, let's say you have a custom domain and you don't have a DMARC record. Well, then you can go to the DMARC generator, and you could say, I want to call it salesprofittoday.com. And I'm going to report to Sean at salesprofittoday.com. And then that basically tells you this is the email address that you'll get a report on whether the DMARC record failed or was successful. Or that when someone's checking your DMARC record, you will get emailed a record saying to this address. So it's important to have an actual address. You can do support at yourdomain.com. That works just fine. And then you could create a filter to get those messages out of your inbox. But now you come to the policy part, and this is important. You're basically telling the recipient's mail server what to do with the email if it fails. So if it fails and it says, hey, we're not sure this is Sean really sending an email out of salesprofittoday.com, what do we do with this? So now you could say none, which means just go ahead and deliver it, which is not really preferred. They would rather you either reject that email or quarantine that email. When you quarantine the email, it will send the email to a bulk folder or spam folder. Reject it, it won't send it anywhere at all. So I generally just put together a quarantine, and then you've got an SPF identifier, whether it's relaxed or strict. Usually do relaxed. DKIM identifier, usually relaxed. And then failure reporting, send to, again, you can send the email to the same place. So what it'll do is generate my record. So you take and you copy this record like that as a DMARC record to your domain, wherever your domain is. So you would come over here and let's say this is the right, I'd come into manage or create custom domain. And then I would add, create a new record. I would do underscore DMARC. Notice how if you have an existing domain in Google, it will automatically put the period between the main domain. So you don't have to pull the whole record type. So then here you come in here, you add it as a TXT record, and then you would just simply paste this value into the system. Bam, and you're done. One thing to note is I did this recently with the new Squarespace domain record management, and I pasted it and I accidentally included the commas around that entry and it kept failing. I couldn't understand it. It looked just perfect. But you have to have exactly each system's different. If I was to paste and save this record and hit save now, it will say, do you want to replace it? I'm going to say no, keep existing records. I'm going to trash this. But the idea would be if you accidentally included the colons here when you were copying from maybe one of your other domain records and just update it for a new domain, you want to make sure you don't include those little quotation marks around the record. Otherwise, it will fail. Okay, but the whole idea here is to make sure that you've got your DMARC, your DKIM, and you've got a TXT record. Is important. You can only have one TXT record or SPF record. So TXT and SPF are the same thing. It's just Google actually will allow you to create an SPF record, whereas a lot of platforms like Squarespace, you don't have that. If I want to add a record, I can't. There is no SPF. So you just have to use TXT record. But that is my SPF. So I'm going to cancel that. But notice in this case, I've got this domain here called First Class Moving Solutions. And that's what this domain is for. And we only use it for outbound emails on Google. So we have just this very basic SV equals SPF1 include SPFgoogle.com all. But let's say I wanted to connect to an SMTP service provider. Maybe I want to create a subdomain and have a domain that's info.firstclassmovingsolutions.com. And that's going to be my marketing email. So I'm going to send out campaigns out of that email. Now, I don't want to get blacklisted. I don't want my main domain to get blacklisted. So I'm going to create a subdomain and I'm going to go through, let's say, a Spark post. So what I'll do is I would update my SPF record to include sparkpostmail.com as well. So not just Google. Now I might have yet another subdomain like email.firstclassmovingsolutions today, or in this case, I think it's got email set up in this one as well for Mailgun. So I might include another SMTP provider. Now the advantage to doing this is that if you happen to run into deliverability problems or you get yourself blacklisted with one of your domains, you could change that, create a new record very easily, and you don't have to move all of your assets, all your digital assets, your copy, your contact records, all of that. You can keep it in one place. You just would pause any campaigns going out of that subdomain and maybe create a new one. Now, there is some things about deliverability that some ESPs like Office 365 tend to be IP related. So if your IP is 195.20.22.222 and you're mailing and you get blacklisted, Office and Microsoft look at that IP address and they go, hey, we're not delivering any mail from this IP address. In fact, we might just route it to the spam folder. Google tends to be more domain specific. So they're going to just look at it and go, wow, corporate mobility today, we're not interested in sending any of these emails to the inbox. They're going to go to a spam folder. So there's a lot of tools that you can use to check whether or not you're blacklisted or not. But it's going to be imperative, and we'll get into that in another video, but it's going to be imperative for you guys to understand how to create DMARC records for your domains. And you should create a DMARC record for your subdomains as well. So you see, I've got two DMARC records because this is the subdomain, which is really using SparkPost or Mailgun. It just depends which one it is. And those systems will give you another domain key to include in your DNS records. So, but you absolutely have to make sure that you enter this value exactly correct. I mean, it can't be one space off. You've got to have one space between the includes. You have to have one space uh, before you put tilde dash all. Otherwise, it'll fail. When the email gets sent, you'll get a notification of it failing to the email address that you added in your DMARC record. So then I would get emails to this address that says, hey, this email couldn't be delivered. And then you could try to investigate what the reason is. But the best thing to do would be to come in here, use something like Easy DMARC to create a DMARC for yourself. They also have SPF checkers. So if you're trying to make sure that your SPF record is correct, then I can say, let's check the SPF record for corporate mobility today. It's valid. So you're good to leave and tell you, look, okay, here's the record. It found it. You can also check and make sure you've got a DKIM record for the same domain. And there it is. It found the DKIM record. And this is the value you put into the system. So very simple to do, but it's very important, especially in 2024, now that Google is going to be changing their practices. Now, the reality is most lead gen guys like us have been doing this for a long time because we know it helps deliverability. So hopefully this helps you with creating your DKIM records. The blog post below will get into even more details on exactly how this works, how it functions, and how you might want to configure your emails for best deliverability and security. Thank you.